Hey, this is Alpier, and I am here to walk you through the BSidesDFW Hardware Hacking Village kits. So we put together two kits that will be distributed to participants of the Hardware Hacking Village. One kit is the lab kit, which is an electronics kit that will have all of the components needed to work on the projects that we're going to do video content about. And then the second kit is what I'm calling the noob kit. This is for people that have not done any work with hardware before. It just includes all the basic tools that are necessary, including a soldering iron and more. So let's step through these kits. The first kit that we're going to look at is the electronics kit. We will take a look at the contents. The contents of the kit are detailed on this website, which I'll link below in the video, and we'll reference this back in a minute. But for now, let us open this guy up and take a look at the goodies. All right. So in the kit, you'll see the link to the website that I mentioned, and we'll have a large bag of components. There's a smaller bag of components, and we'll go through these in detail in a minute. There's another smaller bag. There is a USB tester. There is an Adafruit Trinket M0, which we'll be using to do CircuitPython. We have an Arduino Nano V3. Let's see, a AAA battery holder. We got a 9-volt battery holder. We've got a peg board. We got some solid core copper wire. We've got these strip boards that I designed myself to allow it to have not just through-hole components, but also SMD components, so surface-mounted components. So it can take some 1206, some 0805, and some 0603 components, as well as a USB connector. So these will, you'll have two of them in the kit, and one of them we'll be using in the presentations. And then, of course, we've got stickers. What kit wouldn't be complete without stickers? So that is the basics of what is in this kit, and I'm going to walk through now the actual list for those that are interested in those details. Basically, the main components of the kits that are going to be used in our programming and creating circuits are either the Arduino Nano or the Trinket M0. Now, the kit also includes a safety tester. I think this is very important when you're working with hardware development projects to protect the USB port of the system that you're going to plug it into. You're going to want to use this safety dongle, so I just went ahead and included one in every kit. Let's take a look at what's in this large static bag. So we're going to have lots of resistors and headers and toggle switches. So I'll open up that bag and let's dive into what is in there. So these are through-hole resistors that I'm trying to pull out of the bag now. They're held together with paper tape that should be easy to take apart, and they're individually labeled 10 of each resistor type, starting at 22 ohms and going up to 22,000 ohms. It's not a complete resistor kit, but it gives you enough of all the different value types that are most commonly used that you should be able to play around with that stuff pretty easily. All right, let's take a look at some of this other stuff. So we got, these are breakaway male header pins. We have some female header pins. These are 15 in length for working with the Arduino Nano. And then female that are 5 in length each for the Trinket. And then it looks like we have some tactile switches, that's push button switches. And we have a toggle switch, like an on-off switch, only this one is an on-on switch. We got the USB connector, and we have a terminal connector. Now, the purpose of the terminal connector is to hook up a battery on this strip board. So if I plug it in here, you can see where the wires would plug in there to one of those battery connectors. It has screws to screw it down. And the way this strip board is wired, the battery connector, that single battery connector, is wired into both the power connectors on the side of the board that you would see on a normal breadboard. So that is the big kit. So let's go back to our view here. So yeah, lots of good parts, and we're going to use lots of these in the different video content as we step through building circuits and programming those circuits and learning all of the basic hardware skills that hardware hacking is all about. So then the next piece of components that we're going to look at, oops, there we go, is the first small component bag, which I put all LEDs in this next bag. So there's different LED types that are in here, and I am going to get that one ready. So not all of them are labeled, but they're pretty easy to identify. So I'm going to walk through that real quick. So here's the bag. Now we have a combination of through-hole and surface mount LEDs. So let's take a look at these. All right, so we'll start with the standard through-hole LEDs. We have like 5 different colors, 2 of each color. You're going to end up with 10 of those total. So those are just regular LEDs to play with. Then we have these 2 guys. The smaller one, the 5mm one, this is an RGB LED. It has 4 pins. It's a common cathode, and the longest pin is that cathode. And I'll have the pinouts to all of these devices are posted on that website. This big 8mm LED, this is a NeoPixel. So even though it has 4 pins just like the RGB, it's wired a lot differently because you're going to have data in and data out to program the LED instead of just red, green, and blue hardwired in there. Then what we have is another NeoPixel. This is a small NeoPixel that's mounted on a mini PCB board that will be able to be soldered onto something. And then we have, these are also the WS2812 NeoPixels that are wired into strips. A lot of times you see these as long strips that you can buy and program. What I did was provided 2 different strips that we can play with in the Hardware Hacking Village to learn how these work and how to program them. And then last but not least, we have several LEDs that are surface mount. So I tried to stick with 2 different colors, red and green, in the 3 different SMD packages. So we have the 1206, 805, and 603, and you'll have red and green, 2 of each of color there. So that's a lot of components there. So what that'll allow us to do is play with blinky lights, which is the best way to learn any kind of hardware project, is to get some blinky lights on it. Then the next bag that we're going to take a look at, this has a bunch of capacitors and resistors that are surface mount, so the smaller resistors. That's why we put them into a separate bag. We'll just quickly walk through that. We're going to use some of these components in the Hardware Hacking Village tutorials, so it's good to know what they're all about. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here we have this bag. I'm just going to dump these contents out. All right, so we'll start with the bigger components first. So these are aluminum capacitors, aluminum electrolytic capacitors, and they have different values that are printed on the capacitor, so you can read it right there. This is a 200 or 220 UF. There's two of those, and then you should have a couple of 100 UFs and different values that come in different shapes. The important thing to note with these capacitors is they are polarized, so that means they have a positive side and a negative side, and they will not be happy if you wire in backwards. So unlike a resistor that can go either way, these you have to be careful with the polarity and positive to negative, and we'll walk through that in the classes. What we have here is another capacitor type. You can see I wrote 100 NF on those. These are ceramic disc capacitors. These do not have polarity. You can put them in either way. Then we have a photoresistor. So what this does is, based on whether it's receiving light or not, it will provide resistance or not. And so it has certain resistance value ranges based on the amount of light it's receiving, the resistance that it will provide. So that's a fun thing to play with. And then one thing we have here that I don't want to touch with my hand, this chip is the CH552G microcontroller. So just like the Arduino Nano or the Adafruit Trinket, this microcontroller can control the different circuits that we put together. And in fact, this is a controller that I've used on several of the Badge Life badges that I've made. So I wanted to include one in this kit for everyone. And then what we have here, these are SMD components. You have various resistors and different resistance values and sizes, and some capacitors that are also SMD. So I don't know that we'll use too many of these in the Hardware Hacking Village tutorials, but I wanted to include them. That way everyone had a chance to play with some of this equipment. All right, so that is the basics of the main kit. And we're going to do lots of different videos that will outline tutorials on different topics, such as working with the NeoPixels or building circuits, programming things with CircuitPython, that type of thing. We do have the other kit is the toolkit. I made a limited number of those because those were pretty expensive to put together. But I am going to walk through that one real quick just so you can see what kind of goodies are in there. The tools kit does not include any of the components. So any of the newbies that actually need a toolkit are going to have to get both the component kit and the toolkit. But yeah, let's go ahead and overview what we should have in this kit, and then we will just show it off. So the soldering iron kit that's rubber band to the top here, this is something I bought on Amazon as its own complete kit that has a bunch of components in it, and the soldering iron itself. And then I put together a second box with all of these items that are listed below here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the soldering kit. All right, so what we have comes with some electrical tape, some heat shrink things, which we probably won't use, but here is the actual soldering iron, and it's got adjustable temperature on it. Looks like a little wire cutter, a pair of tweezers, which is good to have when you're working with the smaller components. There's a stand and a sponge in there, and some wire that looks like it's it's stranded wire. It's not solid core wire like the kit, the electronics kit has. I like to work with solid core wire when I'm dealing with breadboards, just because I think it's easier. So that's why I made sure to include that in the other kit. All right, let's look at what else we got here. So that was just everything that came by default in that Amazon box that I bought. And this is the box that I put together. So we have This is a silicone work mat that is just like the one I was showing on my screen earlier. It's heat preventative, so I think it has a temperature rating up to about 500 or 600 degrees, where if you're working on it with a soldering iron, you don't have to worry about burning the surface below. Then I provided a solderless breadboard and a whole bunch of wires of different types to go with that, jumper wires. We have safety glasses. We have more solder. And we have a nice wire cutter, because I didn't like the cheap little wire stripper / cutter that was included in the other kit. And so that is all of the tools that are included in the newbie toolkit. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff to get any person started with hardware hacking. That would be the basic set of tools that I think you would need to do that. So both of these kits are going to be available through a single sign-up form and several drop-off points. We're not mailing these. You are going to have to show up to a low-contact drop-off point that will be announced shortly. So you should see them on the website. So if you go to the main hardware hacking Village page, we will update this page with details on the sign-up sheet and where those drop-offs will be. Right now, we're expecting 3 different drop-off locations. One in the North Dallas area, like the Plano area. One someplace closer to Dallas, and a third closer to the Fort Worth area. That'll allow everyone in the area to have someplace fairly close to them to drive up. And the way we're going to work the low contact is we're going to do it in a big parking lot and have people just drive up to receive their kit through a car window, so you don't even have to get out of your car. More details on that shortly, but I did want to get out this video just to go over what is in all of these good kits that we just put together. So thank you for watching this.